Hey there, friends and neighbors. Welcome back to Richard's Toy Room once again. And we're doing another model kit review and build. So as you can see, today we have this 1995 Dodge Viper RT10. And this kit was made in 1994. Well, at least that's what it's copyrighted. I picked it up on eBay. I was purchasing another item from the same seller, and I saw that they had this listed with make an offer, and I asked them if it would be any more to add to the shipping if I was to buy this kit, and they said no, and so I got this kit for 10 bucks shipped. I have not built a Viper kit before, and I always thought they were kind of a cool car. This is obviously the earlier version of the Viper, you know, because they kind of did a little bit of refreshing on it in the later years. Anyhow, kind of going crazy off topic here. Well, not off topic, but off tangent here. As far as the box, it's this is an AMT kit, AMT Erdl at the time. And you got that. And the ends just look like the top, so there's nothing really special there. So, start with the instructions. It came with a postcard to order this bi-monthly magazine that I have no idea if they still produce or not. I've never subscribed to it. And seeing that it's like 25 years old, there's probably a good chance that they do not. So anyhow, and this one's interesting because it actually gives you two instruction sheets. I mean, they're not two different, well, let me rephrase that. They are two different instruction sheets, but for some reason they couldn't put it all in one sheet. It's like, it says supplemental, but basically this one here is the beginning, and all you're really building here is the engine and putting the tires together. So it's not really a whole lot to it. It's obviously the V10. And the back, it just gives you a bunch of specifications. I mean, nothing to help you build the model. It's just on the actual car. So, I mean, if you're interested in that, I'm sure all that information's online. And then you get to the second one. It's a pretty big fold-out sheet. Two-sided. I can get it open here. And this basically has you doing a lot of sub-assemblies and then putting all those together in other steps. Like the engine is up here, but it doesn't mention it anywhere else except says put the assembled engine together. So I mean, you could get a quick look at that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the instruction sheets. And on the back here, it does give you some trim detailing information and where to put like decals and stuff like that down at the bottom there. And it does call out what colors to paint all the little separate pieces as you go through the instructions, which is nice. I have not decided what color I'm going to do it yet. I was kind of thinking of yellow, like on the box, but for some reason, I always think if I decide to do what the box says, I feel like I'm copping out and having no originality, but I do kind of like the yellow. But I don't know, I haven't decided. I'll see what kind of paint I come up with, what I've got in the store here. So on this kit, I'll show you the Oddball Pieces first. Everything came in one big bag too, by the way. So these are just the Oddball Pieces. So you got your tail lights here. And then they give you 4 black molded pieces. I believe these are the headlights and the mirrors. I didn't take that close a look at them, but that's kind of what they look like. Or they might be some other kind of light, fog light or something in the front there. I didn't look in the instructions to see what they are. Actually, now that I'm looking at them, the mirrors are down here, so it can't be mirrors, so I bet you it is fog light covers. And then they actually give you, it's not chrome, but it's like painted silver, the rims and the mirror glass and the inside rear view mirror. And then the only clear piece you get is the windshield, and it has the visors molded in, because I'm sure that there's no top for this. You get 4 name brand tires. They are Michelin XGTZ, I think it says. There might be a 2. But you get 2 wide ones, and they're solid. So are the front ones. They're a little narrower. But they do look like they have unidirectional tread on them. They're pretty nice looking tires, actually. So, pop them in there. Then you do get a little decal sheet. It gives you 2 different license plate variations, and then they give you 2 different color Viper emblems, I guess you'd call them. And I'm guessing that depending on what color you paint, it would be which one you would use. I don't think both of them would go on the car. One's white and one's red. Alright, so as far as like the actual kits, the rest of the kit, this is everything else right here. And it was all in the bag exactly like this. Kind of nicely packed. So there you go. You got 5 trays, and then the hood and body with the pipes, side pipes molded in. Take a look at that if you want. That's the hood. Underneath has a lot of detail. And the body. Looks like it's molded pretty nice. Pretty detailed kit. Actually, the more I'm looking at it, a lot of detail. They even got like wires in here in the firewall and stuff. And let's see, what do we got here? So it looks like some interior panels, some seats, a frame, some miscellaneous oddball parts there. And here's your dash. It's a very detailed dash. And it looks like some probably inner wheel rims, I'm guessing. Look like maybe some hoses, steering wheel, some mufflers. Everything's molded in this light gray. You got some wheel wells. One's about to fall off there. Not sure what this is. Probably some interior part. And then your floor pan down there. Again, very detailed. This looks like it'll be a nice looking kit once it's done. Here, looks like pretty much most of the engine parts and some suspension parts. I mean, you got control arms that are separate. You got shocks, spring coilover shocks here. You got, looks like half shafts here. Some front suspension, or stabilizing. And the last one, you got some more suspension parts like down here. Some up here. These are probably the front control arms. Some splash guards, your bumpers. I think that's the rear roof. And then you got like your radiator and stuff parts over here. And some steering parts. So yeah, this looks pretty cool. Let's see if it says how many parts are in this kit. Over 120 parts in this kit. So, now that we've showed you what you get, I will get started on this, and probably next thing we'll show you are probably some of the sub-assemblies that we've gotten painted and done. So, stay tuned. Okay, I want to do a little interim update here. Show you some of this. I want to point out a couple of issues that I had. Basically, I have the whole chassis done without the tires on it. Engine in, all this up to I guess we're up to assembly number 6 on the actual directions. So I had a couple of minor problems. Weird, because actually very little problems with this kit at all so far. If you remember from the parts, you have a top frame and a bottom frame that go together. They were a little bit warped, and but it managed, when I glued it together and held together with clothespins while it dried, it seemed to pretty much straighten itself out. You got to watch it when you're putting this radiator in. There are a couple of marks on the frame where you have to line the radiator up, and if you have it lined up perfectly, let me see if I can find that part here. When you put the air cleaners on, they will sit right into the little channel here and go into the throttle bodies, or the intakes here, and as you can see, that's absolutely perfect. So the weirdest thing that I had the problem with was the stupid alternator. I could not get that thing to sit in there straight. I turned it like all the way around, tried it every which way, and it just would not sit in there straight. That was actually the biggest problem that I ran into. The other thing was, when you put the engine together, let me show you the instructions. It's easier because you can't really see it on here. Where is it? Okay. If you look here, you put the manifolds on, and then the little bottom part, what they call the exhaust collectors here, they kind of stick out to the sides on the engine. And when you go to put the engine in, it doesn't tell you to put the engine in until like step 5, after you put the top and the bottom of this frame together. And it barely, I mean, I had to use a screwdriver to like pry it in there past the frame rails. Now, I don't know if that's because maybe I didn't have them quite, I'm exaggerating here, but, it could have maybe pushed them in a little bit so they were a little closer to the engine block, and then it probably would have dropped right in. But, I mean, I really didn't know that at the time. But, I mean, I did get it in, as you see. I didn't have to take anything apart. I didn't have to, take those exhaust collectors off and re-glue them on, anything like that. I just had to really kind of force it in there and then wiggle it into place. I mean, it's really tight in there. Yeah, I mean, even the lower radiator hose wasn't that big a deal to put on. Is there anything else? Here's the bottom. It's pretty detailed, though. I mean, a lot of separate parts. You got all these chassis parts and brake discs and sway bars and rear axles. And these should turn, too, unless I got glue on there. Kind of hard to get a hold of them because they're so tiny, but I made sure I turned them while the glue was still wet, so just in case I got some on there. So the wheels should turn when I'm done, but I mean, that's not a big deal. But overall, no, this thing went together really nice so far. Everything that I've put together on it, I haven't had any problems with this kit. I was going to paint the body purple. I found a can of purple paint, but it wouldn't quite spray right. It was kind of spattering, and I just didn't feel like messing around looking for other nozzles or anything like that. I don't know if maybe it could be just the paint's kind of just gone. I mean, it's old. But I knew I wasn't going to get a good finish out of it, so I just took what I had that I knew worked really good, was this cherry red paint, and this came out awesome. So I think it's going to look good. I didn't really want to do the traditional red Viper, but it'll look nice. And I don't think there was any other issues that I could think of, except for those two things. I mean, everything else has gone together very easily, very nice, without any issues. Yeah, so shouldn't be that much more to put together. I may actually finish this before I finish the 62 Buick that I'm working on at the same time. it's right here still. But I painted both of those cars today. So just depends on which one I kind of get to first. The Buick I'm doing a two-tone paint job on, and the Viper is going together much easier than the Buick. It needed a lot, and it's going to also need a lot of detail work. So I'm thinking this Viper is going to get together first. So you're probably going to see this video before you see the Buick one. Anyway, I'm blabbering, so we'll be back. All right, another update. I found a few problems here. I pretty much think they're all my fault. I don't think it has anything to do with the engineering or quality of the kit. And let me point them out to you so that in case you're building this kit and you run across this problem, you'll know what I'm talking about and you can avoid it. So, anyway, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to show you any of this, but let's see what we can do here. So, when you get to one of these assemblies on the back of the final assemblies, you're supposed to put a steering shaft in, and that's this part right here. You can see it sticking up right here, and it goes way down in here to the steering rack, way down in there. Well, unfortunately, when I was doing this, when I was putting these wheel wells on, and this also is going to directly relate to the other issue that I have. At first I put this heater hose on, which attaches in the back of the engine back here like that, underneath here. Then it runs along underneath the valve cover and then goes to the radiator. Well, I could barely get this fender on because of that, and I had to fiddle with it. Well, it turns out that I think these fenders are supposed to stick out just a little bit past the frames on each side, and I was trying to get them to go level, even with the frames. Because the back ones, they do stick out a little bit over. So that led to this being too close to get this steering shaft in. So I had to take this hose off to get the steering shaft in. And then it's like really crammed in there. But it's in there and it will join up. It attaches right here on this little square hole. You can see where I scraped the paint a little bit. That's where the other end of it attaches on the firewall area. All right. So basically what I'm saying is when you put these fenders on, don't try to cram them all the way in, even with the frame, kind of let them sit a little bit. The second problem I had was with these rear wheel wells. And it's not quite the same problem, but it's going to be real hard to show because everything's black. But when you put these wheel wells on, they got these little tabs on each side here. And to me, it looked like the way that they went on was you had to overlap the tab onto this back part here. None of this shows when the car's together. And then it would run alongside, this frame here flat. There's kind of like a little ledge there. Well, unfortunately, when you go to put the body on, you can't push it down all the way because, as you can see, these white spots are where this under here, where the seats were rubbing, trying to push this down. I couldn't get the body to sit all the way down, which of course affected everything else, like this rear bumper, which sits like that. There was a big gap. It was crooked. And I couldn't get it to sit right, so I started shaving this down, thinking there was something wrong with that because it wouldn't go underneath the bumper. And I didn't really destroy anything doing that. Everything still fits good. But I even started shaving stuff underneath where the seat there was like a little tab that holds the back of the interior to the body. And I clipped that off thinking it was hitting this thing here. But it had nothing to do with it. It was these stupid fenders. So what I need to do is just basically move them back a little bit so that that little tab is even with this here. And then they'll stick out a little bit more. I mean, just a little bit. But they sit a lot better if you look underneath the where it goes to the frame. It follows the frame rail, and when you push it back, they sit a lot more perfectly aligned with that. So, and I proved that works because they're not even glued in yet, but once I did that, I was able to put everything in, and this would sit down perfectly onto the frame. So, a couple things to watch out for. Besides that, and that's not, like I said, not really the kit's fault, my fault, but something to watch out for if you're building it. Besides that, no other problems other than what I had mentioned before. You will want to watch when you put this on. This kind of only fits on one way. I mean, it kind of goes into some ribs on the front there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put this on first, then put the body on, and then the hood, you'll have to like kind of tweak these pieces, the body and this around a little bit to make sure the hood lines up perfectly and doesn't look all weird. But it's possible. I did it just playing with it. So anyway, that's the update. The only other thing, it's not an issue, but I have to repaint this because when I went to go put my second coat on, I didn't get this a good enough coat when I did all the pieces the first time. And then when I put the second coat on, it like wrinkled. So I had to sand it all down, and I'm going to have to repaint it. So not a big deal, just kind of slowed me down a little bit. But that'll be the last thing I put on. That's not a big deal. Anyway, you know what? While I got you here, I'll show you I did finish the interior and the dash. Got it all detailed up. I even got the little gauges all white and with red needles and stuff. But I think it came out pretty good. So stay tuned. The final reveal should be coming up next. And here we are with the final reveal. Really no surprises. The only things that I would maybe mention are since this body is kind of multi-piece to kind of get together, and if you get it off just a little bit, you're going to get gaps in places. And I think maybe just the design of it's almost unavoidable. I had to like rubber band this rear bumper on to get it to fit right, and then everything else pretty much fit up here, but then you do have a little bit of gap here, if you can see the leading edge of the hood. So you kind of got, if you fiddle around with that and kind of make the gaps even all the way around, it looks all right. But no, this was actually a pretty good kit. I would definitely recommend this kit, especially if you like Vipers. I mean, a lot of people are against AMT kits, but this is one of the better ones. And it was fun to build. Like I said, not too many things had issues, fit-wise or anything like that. One thing I didn't like about the kit, though, is the smoked out lens. These actually are see-through, but they're so dark you can't see anything, and the fog lamps are the same. They should be a lot lighter, as you can see, than real car in the box here. It should be like just barely kind of smoky. I mean, these are like almost blacked out. And the only other thing was the license plate decal that they give you to put on there. Doesn't quite fit the actual the spot where they have out for it to fit. It's a little too big. But overall, I'm being nitpicky. Pretty good kit. Recommend it. And stay tuned for the turntable. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.